Okay. I think I'm back. I think I'm back. Let me look. Let me look. Let me go to YouTube and visit my channel. Here I am. There I am. Zoso's Jaded Memory. Okay. It looks like I'm live on YouTube. It looks like I'm live on Pilled. I am live on Pilled. I am live at D Live. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you kindly. Hey, this is groovy. You guys are geniuses. Thank you for helping me. I don't even pretend to know the slightest thing about computers. I didn't know what a taskbar is. I do now. Now I know what a taskbar is. He says, I guess another grog will work. Hey, I'm working on the same grog. I'm working on the same grog. Gambera says, check the taskbar again. So let's just do that. Click on that, and then he said right-click on it. Right-click on it. So I will right-click on that. Task Manager. That's what he wanted me to open. Okay, so it went down significantly. I'll show you what this says because I don't know what it means. But this was at 2,000. That was at 2,000, and now it's only at 18 something. But man, it's growing by the second. It kind of looks like the USA debt clock, doesn't it? I don't understand. 93% memory. At some point, I'm gonna have to talk to like Radon Antifa and have him talk me through what a guy does about this because I just don't know I don't even know what the shit means. You know, I didn't own a computer. I didn't own a computer until I was 56, 57 years old. And, you know, there's kids today who get them handed to them at school at 8. And they can just, you know, I ask them to help me and they show up and they go, oh, yeah, this is it. Click, 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 click. See, now it's fixed. And I'm like, what did you do? I'm just an analog guy trying to live in a digital world. What can I say? Zoe needs his own Jim Lee. What's a Jim? Oh, Jim Lee. Yeah. I'm thankful that I can even broadcast. Okay, people, look how far I've come in the 4 years I've been broadcasting. I used to broadcast with 1.92 megabyte upload. Okay, when I had the squirrel in the hamster cage, and the squirrel was missing 3 legs. Yeah, at least now I have fiber optic, whatever, you know, whatever that means. Fiber optic. I just know it's supposed to be good. Okay, let's check. Let me go over to the last place is my content. Okay, mystery ship. We are live at this place is my I am live at Rumble. I'm live at Rumble. I'm live at Pilled. I'm live at YouTube, and there's people there. Good day. Good to see you, Rain Cry. Yes, it is good to see you. All right. Thank you guys for your patience with your poor brother Zoe. I seriously, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Let me say my hellos. Let me start my show like I normally start my show, and maybe I will fall back into a groove. Maybe I will just fall right back into a groove. Prayer Warrior Girl is here. She goes, praise the Lord, you are back. Praise the Lord. Prayer Warrior Girl is going to be a guest contestant. No, excuse me, a guest star on the Foxhole Squares coming up. It's sometime in the next 2 weeks. It might even be next weekend. I think it is next weekend. Radon Antifa, good to see you, my brother. Thank you for your help. Girl Patriot is with us. Due Diligence in the house. Purple Pixie, love to see you. Gambera, thank you, my friend. Thank you very, very much for your help. Close D Live and Pilled. Why? How else will I read the chats? I wouldn't know. How would I? Yeah, that's the only way I can read the chats is to have them open. Let's see. Who else is here? Who else is here? Girl Patriot, my dear. Great to see all of you. Great to see freaking all of you. I really appreciate so much that you're hanging out with me. Let's go over to Lemon Land and say hello to the wonderful sailors over there. Artist 61. How are you doing, little lady? She is in the process of moving her business, but once her business is moved, and believe me, there's a lot of men that would like to move her business. Once she gets her business moved, she will be joining us also as a guest, as a contestant on the Foxhole Squares. Willie Fix-It in the house. Spudley is with us. Jayla 17. I think I said Lynn Winters. Debbie Roush. Download Spybot Search and Destroy for free. It will allow you to delete cookies and viruses by running a scan on your computer. I seem to remember that from years ago. Spybot. Yeah, that's one of those things, like Norton antivirus or something, right? That they used to automatically ding my bank account and then overdraw me by $36 when, yeah, I remember those days. Good to see you. Thanks, Debbie Roush. I appreciate your help. Red Rum. Oh, I love that movie. Anyway, wonderful to see all you guys. Wonderful to see all of you hanging out here. It is beautiful. Don't download that shit. I'll walk you through it later, says Raid on Antifa. Okay, beautiful. Okay, it is next week. Next week, the 15th, Prayer Warrior Girl in the house. We're very excited about tomorrow night's edition of Foxhole Squares. We are not going to have the technical difficulties that we had last week. I think we have alleviated that problem. Wonderful to see Rain Cry, Norma Williams, John Jones. How are you guys doing over there at YouTube? Thanks for joining me. I'm your brother Zoe, and this is what I do. I have a podcast where it's a podcast version of Seinfeld. The show is basically about nothing, but each and every week I manage to come up with something. And this week, we're going to revisit my glory days. Yes, we're going to talk about the 1980s and your brother Zoe being in his 20s and getting his job in Hollywood and all the weird things that happened to him. Somewhere. Somewhere I have a beautiful box of photographs to accompany this episode. What got me all hot and bothered about this is on the way home I was listening to Quite Frankly, and he's been hawking this for a week, saying, yeah, we're going to do this show. Have you ever met a celebrity? Call in and talk about it. And so I was all prepared. I mean, I was all excited about calling in and telling Frank one of my war stories. And then he ended up having so much fun with Jay Goulinel that they never got around. They never got around to the celebrity thing. Well, looks like we're out of time. No phone call. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do my entire show on my Hollywood war stories because I have a million of them. I really do. And we're going to start at the very beginning when I was a starving college student. This is 1982. 1982, I'm a starving college student. I am surviving during the day by delivering washers and dryers and refrigerators. And then in the evenings, I was going to school. I was going to Los Angeles Valley College. I was taking television courses, radio and television, communications. I was a communications major, and my dream was to one day somehow become Walter Cronkite. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a news anchor. That's really what I wanted to do with my life. Of course, it meant I would have to cut off my hair, and just in case I didn't become a news anchor, I continued in my heavy metal band with hair down to here because I needed something to fall back on if this newscasting thing didn't work out for me. And the strangest thing happened. The strangest thing happened is I got a phone call that said, "Call this lady. Call this lady. She's from Florida. She just got a job on this Paramount television show, and she's looking for a full-time intern, and she's willing to pay them. She's willing to pay them." So a very strange thing happened. I had quit my job delivering washers, dryers, and refrigerators, and I went back to the sign company that I used to work for. And I got stoned one day at lunch, and I chopped my finger off. I chopped my finger off on a table saw. It used to look like this one. Now it looks like this one. So I'm sitting at home with my finger all bandaged up, not knowing what I'm going to do with my life. And I get this phone call that says, "Call this lady. She's looking for an intern and she's willing to pay." So I call her up. I call her up out of the blue. I said, "You don't know me, but I understand you're looking for somebody full-time, a full-time assistant." She goes, "Yes, I am. Can we do an interview?" So I go and I talk to my mom about it. And I said, "Mom, this is a Paramount show. This could be a big deal." She goes, "Albert, you're going to have to cut that hair." I'm like, "Mom, why? What is it? I'll put it in a ponytail." She goes, "Albert, no, this is an opportunity. You've got to cut off your hair." So I go in and I cut off all my hair. My band was mortified. Because of the three of us, I had the best hair. I had the hair that went out like this. Whereas, both of those guys, their hair was thinning. And anyway. So I'm this lead guitar player in a heavy metal band with no hair. No hair. But I go in and I interview this woman, and she hires me on the spot. And she's a really neat lady. Her name is Jean Wolfe. She was from Florida, and I'm guessing at the time I'm 22 years old, and this woman is, I'm thinking 45, maybe, okay? But she was a sweet lady, very, very strict, very stern. When she gave you commands, boy, you followed them. You followed whatever she told you to do. You followed them, because what she did is she gave me a 30-year education in television in 6 months. Okay? This woman taught me how to write and edit and produce stories for television. News stories, we'd go out and we would shoot 2 tapes, and then we go to the tape vault and we'd grab 3 or 4 more tapes, and we would sketch out an edit plan, and then we'd go in and record her voiceovers, and then we'd go into the edit bay and piece this thing together. And she taught me how to do it. And the very first story I produced, she flew home to Florida for the weekend, and I said, "Why don't you give me those tapes we shot today? I'm going to take a crack at it over the weekend." I did such a good job writing and producing it that when the executive producer of the show saw it, he liked it so much, he ran it right at the front of the show, and then he selected it to be rerun again on the weekend show, which gave her another chunk of change. If they ran her story twice, she got like an extra $575. So at this point, the woman loves me. And it was great. It was good for her. It was good for me. This was my introduction to Hollywood. I walked in the door of a brand new show called Entertainment Tonight. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a clue. All I knew is that I was living and working in Hollywood, excuse me, I was working in Hollywood. I was barely living. She paid me $75 a week. $75 a week. And I would do everything for this woman, from write and edit and transcribe all of her tapes, to go get her lunch and go take her laundry to the cleaners, and and pick it up from the cleaners and bring it back and hang it up in the bedroom of her beautiful Hollywood Hills home. And she trusted me. And when she would go home to Florida for like a week, she would give me the keys to her BMW and say, just don't scratch it up. So, I mean, it was a wonderful time in my life. It really was. It was very exciting. I learned quite a lot from this woman in 6 months. In 6 months, I went from not knowing anything, just like I am about computers, okay? Imagine if 6 months from now I could repair computers, okay? That's how much this woman taught me. And I love her to this day. She's still alive. She's like 80-something, and she still has a Hollywood talk show of some kind, I think a podcast. I'm going to go see her the next time I'm in Hollywood. So one day, I'm editing in an edit bay, and a guy comes up to me, and he goes, "Who are you?" And I said, "Oh, I work for Gene Wolfe. He goes, "Yeah, I mean, you're like writing and editing stories, right? You're producing." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you want a job?" And I looked at him and I go, "You mean on the show?" And he says, "Yeah." And I said, this is how naive I was. I said, "With my name on the credits? My name will go up at the end." He goes, "Yes." So he's looking at me like I'm a nutter. And I applied, and they gave me the job. And believe it or not, my very first job on the television show was as a production assistant, but I couldn't care less. On Fridays, my name came up on the credits, and that was the most exciting thing that ever happened to me. There's my name! I called all my friends. My name's going to be on. It was so silly. So silly when I think back about it now. I was such a dork. Just such a dork. But the great thing about this show is that it was the only one of its kind back in 1981. There wasn't a TMZ. There wasn't an Access Hollywood. There wasn't anything else except Entertainment Tonight. And it very quickly caught on. And pretty soon, every freaking movie star, every freaking musician, every television star, they were dying to get on the show. And I mean, if I just told you what my first 6 months were like there, one of my very first photo shoots, we went to the Olympics. The Olympics were coming to Los Angeles. The 1984 Olympics were coming to Los Angeles. This is still 1983, but they know that the Olympics are coming. And they have this big star-spangled affair with all these different celebrities and stuff. And so she's there with the camera crew, the cameraman and the audio guy. And she says, "Look, you wait right here. We're going to go. We've only got 3 press credentials. I can't get you in the back, but we're going to go in and see what kind of stars we can find, and I'll come back out and I'll find you." So, I mean, I'm sitting in a theater, and there's people practicing on the stage, and the whole USC marching band is sprinkled throughout these chairs. And there's a guy in front of me. He's sitting in the seat in front of me, in the row in front of me, just like a movie theater. And he's sitting all scrunched down. He's all scrunched down in his chair. So all I can see from my perspective is the back of his head, right? That's all I can see. And this guy is wearing a baseball hat. He's wearing a baseball hat, and all I know is every single time that somebody comes up onto the stage, this guy starts making fun of them. And he was making fun of them so badly that all the people around me, all of the USC marching band people, all of us, we're splitting our sides. We're laughing so hard because this guy is just making fun of everybody. And finally, I lean over the chairs and I go, dude, you're freaking killing me, man. And I look and it's Robin Williams. Okay. No wonder the guy's making fun of everybody. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, Mr. Williams, I'm here with Entertainment Tonight. Would you like to say a few words to our cameras with regards to this affair? And he looks at me for a second and he goes, what is the show called? And I said, Entertainment Tonight. He goes, can I call my agent? And I said, sure. He goes, I'll be right back. So he goes home and runs to a payphone. He calls his agent and he comes back and he goes, yeah, I'll do it. Where's your cameras? So I go marching along. I got Robin Williams in tow and I go walking up and I find my reporter, Gene Wolfe, and the camera crew who have completely struck out. They don't have a single celebrity of any measure. They've talked to some bit rate, some C and D stars. Nobody. I bring Robin Williams. I said, Gene, Robin would like to say a few words. She kissed my ass from that moment on. I mean, first of all, he was fantastic. He saved the piece. He was so funny that he saved the story. So that right there was a feather in my cap. And all the way home from the ride, she kept patting me on my shoulder. I can't believe you got Robin Williams. I can't believe you got Robin Williams. After that, we were like this. So, and then, a little later on is when that guy came and asked me if I wanted a job. And I got a job on the show. And I got my name on the credits, and I was all excited. And every single day when I would walk in the door, there was a big, giant, white erase board. And I knew the girl who would write down. And what she did is she said, okay, at 8 a.m., one of our camera crews is going to this place. And it had the address, and it had the director's name, and it listed the cameraman, and the audio guy. So, every day I walk up and I look at this list, and I'm like, at 11 o'clock today, we're going to go to the Pretenders are having a gold record party for their second album. So I go over to the director. I look up who the director is. I go and I knock on his door. I say, "Hey, Ziggy, do you mind if I tag along on this one?" And he goes, "No, man, more the merrier, But you can help the cameraman carry in the lights or something." And that's what I did. And I tagged along. On all kinds of interviews and stories. I went so many places. I will say this, okay? For a 22, 23-year-old in Hollywood, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a guy who 3 months ago was humping refrigerators up and down staircases for a living, all of a sudden, I'm going to John Davidson's wedding, okay? Now, I'll never forget this. We are covering John Davidson's wedding now. I know who gives a shit, but it's celebrity news, so it was a story we covered. And there's all kinds of people there, all kinds of fucking people, and the reporter and the director, who was a very nice lady, leaned over to me and said, "Hey, would you mind? How about going and getting us a couple of glasses of wine?" I'm like, sure. I wasn't doing anything anyway, so I head over to the bar, and I come back with 2 glasses of I don't know, Merlot or whatever the hell it was. And it's elbow to elbow. And I'm carrying these up, and just about the time I bring the glasses of wine down to hand them to the reporter and the lady, this guy bumps into me, and the glass in my right hand spills red wine up into the air. And who is standing next to me but Ed McMahon and his lovely wife. Ed was, of course, Johnny Carson's sidekick back in the day. And this red wine just goes all over her boobs. I mean, down inside of her dress, right down the V-neck, all over her white dress. I could have fucking died. I could have died. It was really embarrassing. And I ran and I got a towel. The damage was done. By the time I got back with a wet rag and a dry towel, they were very, very nice about it. I have to admit, they could have been really pissed off, but they were just the nicest fucking people. The nicest people ever. The next thing I find myself at is I'm going to Malibu. I'm going to Malibu to the house of J.R. Ewing. It's so far back in the memory now. Whoever played J.R. Ewing, he was also on I Dream of Jeannie. He played the Major. What the fuck's his name? Anyway, he's very well off by now, and he's living in the Malibu colony. So we go out to his house, and he looks at me and he says, "Oh, you hurt yourself?" He sees a bandage on my finger. And I said, yeah, I cut my finger off. So he goes, "Well, let me give you a left-handed shake." And he shook my hands with a left. Larry Hagman. Thank you. Larry Hagman. So really a nice guy. And I'm admiring his beautiful home. And I said, "Boy, this home is just spectacular." And he says, you know what's my favorite thing about it?" And I said, "What's that?" And he walks over to a wall and he pushes a button. He pushes a button, and the entire roof of the house goes down these tracks and disappear into the walls, and there's nothing above us but the sky. Okay, he had a retractable roof on his house. That's what disgusting amounts of money will do for you. Okay, and he was just, he was as nice a guy as you ever want to meet. He acted like, like we'd known him forever. My very next adventure out in the field was to go to see this. We went and did an interview with good old Red Fox. Red Fox, the comedian from Sanford and Son. Now, this guy was something else. He really and truly, this guy was something else. So he looks at me, and he kind of sizes me up. And by now, my hair's starting to grow in a little bit. It wasn't the buzz job that I once had. I'm covering my ears and almost touching my collar. And he goes, son, come here. He goes, "I know just what you need." And he puts his arm around me. And he goes, "You go up and use my personal bathroom." And I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, you go up and use my bathroom. First door on your left." So I go up to the top of the stairs and I take the first door to the left and I walk into this guy's bathroom. And in the bathroom of Red Fox's home is a mirror. And on that mirror is the biggest pile of cocaine I've ever seen in my life. It was the size of a football. Okay? And there was a razor blade and everything you needed right there. So, man, I whip a dollar bill out of my pocket and I roll it real fast. I draw myself a couple of lines and then, I toot up. And he didn't offer it to anybody else. He didn't offer this opportunity to the cameraman or the audio guy or the reporter or the director, just me. So while I'm there, I find I find another piece of paper like a receipt in my pocket. And I put a bunch of Coke in it and I fold it up and I put that in my pocket for later, And I come down the stairs and they're like, what did he want you to see? And I said, oh, it's really lavish. He's got a gold toilet up there and stuff, it's really nice, I'll never forget it as long as I live. As long as I live, I'll never fucking forget that. Red Fox and his pile of cocaine. Amazing. Amazing. Then we went and did an interview. This was really cool. We went and we did an interview with Michael J. Fox. Okay? This is just before Back to the Future got released. Okay? He had shot the film. It was in the process of being editing, and the reason we were talking to him is because he was the star of the show Family Ties. And he's like my age. I mean, I think we're very, very close in age. In fact, let me look it up. How old is Michael J. Fox? He's 63, so he's like 2 years younger than me, and just the coolest fucking guy. Seriously, the coolest dude. And do you guys remember this? There used to be a famous poster. There was a famous poster in the 70s of a guy in a top hat, and he's all dressed up, not in a tuxedo, but he's all dressed up. He's got a big glass of champagne in his hand, and he's sitting on a Rolls Royce. And the caption of the poster said, "Poverty sucks." How many people remember that old poster? Very, very famous poster in the late 70s. Michael J. Fox had that hanging on the wall of his apartment. He had this tiny little apartment off of Shalon Road at the top of the San Diego Freeway just before it drops down into the San Fernando Valley. So, we get to talking, and I'm the closest guy his age of our crew and everything. So, we're shooting the breeze, and I learned that he played guitar, and I told him I played guitar. And then, the funny thing is that they shot the show Family Ties on the stage right next door to our stage. So I'd see him 2-3 times a week. And I'd never seen the show Family Ties. I didn't know anything about it. So one day I'm in the tape vault, and I punch up in the computer Family Ties, and I go and I pull the tape, and I go and I watch an episode of this, and it was pretty funny. I mean, he had a particularly funny line. I remember it to this day. It pertained to him being with his buddy. I can't remember his dorky buddy's name on the show, but Michael J. Fox is hanging out with this hot chick. And then he goes over and talks to this buddy of his. I don't know if it was Scooter or whatever nickname this guy had. And he said the line. He goes, "Well, I don't mean to blow my own horn, but beep, beep," when he's pointing at the chick over, this fucking hot chick over. So one day I'm down in the commissary, and I'm getting my regular, Paramount cheeseburger. And I go out back. There was a little outdoor patio and 8 or 10 tables out there. And who's sitting there but all by himself is Michael J. Fox. So I go and I sit at the table right next to him. And I look over at him and I go, "Hey, dude, remember me?" He goes, "Yeah, you're part of that Entertainment Tonight crew, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Hey, I just want to tell you, man, previously I didn't know anything about Family Ties, but I pulled one of the shows and watched it, and man, you're funnier than hell." And I said, "In fact, you had this one line that just absolutely stole the show." And he goes, "Oh, yeah? What was the episode about?" And I just briefly described the chick and his buddy Scooter, or whatever the fucking guy's name was. And he just looks at me and he goes, "Well, I don't want to blow my own horn, but beep, beep." He remembered the line, okay? This guy remembered the line from a show that he probably shot 8 weeks ago. He blew me away. Later on, as you know, I ended up being at Entertainment Tonight for almost 10 years. And, before Family Ties went down the hill, down the tubes, of course, he became a great big movie star with all of his movies and everything. And, I'm sure that he took down his Poverty Sucks poster. I'm sure that he did. But we ended up playing them in softball. It was Entertainment Tonight versus Family Ties. And I remember at the time the lead singer in my band, I told her, "Hey, this Saturday we're playing Family Ties. Michael J. Fox," she had such a crush on him. "Michael J. Fox is going to be there. You want to come and meet him?" She goes, "Oh my God, could I meet him?" I brought her down there. He was so fucking cool. He put his arm around her like she was his girlfriend or something. To this day, I know that she still has that photo. She blew it up and hung it on the wall. It was like the biggest moment of her life. Pretty funny, but he was just such a cool and regular guy, and that's what I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed when you see these people that, they got all this fortune and fame and shit, and when they turn out to be nice people, you almost think to yourself, you know what, this guy deserves every minute of the fortune and the fame and the shit that he's got, because he's just a fucking cool guy. And then you get your occasional douchebag, okay? Your occasional douchebag, and I'll tell you about one. As a kid, I was like the biggest, I'm talking the 1960s, I was the biggest Star Trek fan that ever was. Ever. I loved Star Trek. And in the late 1970s, when Paramount decided to do a Star Trek movie with the original cast, 10 years later, I was so fucking excited. Well, Star Trek 1 turned into Star Trek 2, turned into Star Trek 3. By the time Star Trek 4 came around, which is the one with the whales, okay, the movie with the whales, and any of you Star Trek fans out there, I'm at work. And we used to park on the lot. And what we had is in the middle of the Paramount lot was a parking area that was sunken. And that's where I had to park. It was sunken down about 10 feet. And you drove over this little hump and you went down this little embankment, and there was parking spaces all in there. And they were numbered, and I had the same spot every day. And it was in front of this giant, huge blue sky with puffy white clouds and this giant background. This thing had to be 300 feet long and 150 feet high. And it was right in front of this tank. Okay, that's what we called it, the tank. Well, one day I come out to my car after work, and there's a note under my windshield wiper, and it says, "We're sorry, but for the next 6 weeks, you're going to have to park on the street. You can no longer park on the Paramount lot. We'll let you know when it's cool for you to come back." So I'm like, oh, that's fucking great. That's just fucking great. And then one day, I am walking through the back lot, and I look and I see something big and something green, okay? The color of a green screen, okay? Green screen, but this thing it's catching my eye peripherally, and I look over, and here it is. There is a gigantic, full-scale Klingon bird of prey built just sitting in the parking lot. And I go and I grab the Polaroid and I'm taking pictures of this thing. This guy comes over, hey, no pictures, no pictures. And I'm like, yeah, right. And I stick the pictures in my pocket and I go back up into Entertainment Tonight. And I go and I talk to 3 or 4 of my buddies who are also Star Trek guys. And they're like, dude, you see that fucking bird of prey out there, man? I mean, it was so freaking cool. Well, that was the mock-up that they used when, I don't know how many of you remember the movie, but there's a part where they parked the Klingon bird of prey in the middle of Golden Gate Park, and Kirk turns to everybody when they push the cloaking device and make it disappear, and he says, everybody remember where we parked? Well, I love that movie. I love that fucking movie. But a couple of days later, I go to lunch and I look over and there's a huge commotion in the tank. So naturally, I go over to see what the hell's going on. And they are filming the scene. They're filming the scene where they crashed the Klingon bird of prey in the San Francisco Bay, and they released the whales, and all of the stars are swimming in the water. And what blew me away about this, what really made me, when it all clicked, is for weeks I had walked by the prop department on my way to go get lunch every day. And I kept seeing this whale, all right? It's like one side of a whale. If you made a fiberglass body and it was one side of a whale with the eye and the one wing sticking out, you know, and there was this track, like railroad track, but it had little humps in it. It was like a straight track and it had little humps, and there was this little train car that went on it. And for weeks I'd been looking at this thing, wondering what the fuck this was all about. Well, I got to see it in action. I go down there and Leonard Nimoy is directing, and they have flooded the tank where I normally park my car. It's full of water. And there's the track. I see it going and it disappears into the water. And the next thing you know, Leonard goes, action. And they send this whale down the track. It goes underwater. And then 3 times it hit the little humps and went doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo. So you could see the whale poking up his little head up with the eyeballs. I'm watching him film this. And I'm like, this is so fucking cool. This is way before the movie has ever gotten released. I have no idea what the plot or the premise of the movie is. I just know they're shooting Star Trek 4. That's all I knew. Later, when the movie came out, it all made perfect sense to me. And the thing is, they were all there. Uhura, Zulu, Chekhov, Scotty, all of them. They were all there. Leonard Nimoy, and I got to shake hands and say hello to every frickin' one of them. And do you know who was the biggest douchebag? Was, of all people, fucking Captain Kirk was a total fucking douchebag. He wouldn't shake hands. He wouldn't take pictures. He wouldn't even acknowledge you. He was too big of a star. I was really disappointed at that, because as a kid, fucking Captain Kirk is one of my heroes, man. This is like, what the fuck? But I got to see it. And then when the movie did come out, it was so cool to say, oh my God, I was standing right there. It was a wonderful moment to remember. A wonderful moment to remember. Yeah. So amazing. So freaking amazing. And then I've told this story before, but I'll share it one more time, and I'll do it quickly. I'll do it very quickly. My show, Entertainment Tonight, We shot in Soundstage 28, number 28. And we were in the building, in the Mae West building. Every building on the Paramount lot is named after a movie star. So we were in the Mae West building, second floor. And there was a third floor. I don't know what show was up there. We were on the second floor. And then there was the first floor with another show. And then there was a basement. And down in the basement is where we kept all of our cassette tapes. Every single day when our crews would go out and shoot video, we would have these great big, let me tell you, back in the day, back in the 80s, a video cassette tape that went in an Ikegami camera was about this freaking big. I mean, it was about 8 by 11, and it had 3/4 inch tape in it. It was a 1-inch housing. So these tapes were enormous. And our show is gathering up each and every day between the tapes that we shoot with 6 different crews out there shooting video. And then, we call publicity companies. Hey, I need a trailer from the newest Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. We're doing a story on Arnold's, whatever. So people were sending us tapes all the time. We were amassing about 100 tapes a day, and we stored them down in the basement. Well, you can imagine, it doesn't take very long, and you start filling rack after rack after rack after rack. We were constantly buying more racks, and the poor intern kids working for free, from the different colleges, that's all they did. They numbered tapes, they logged them into the system, they carried them down to the basement, and they put them in order, numerical order. And, every time we turned around, we were knocking out a wall down there and taking over the next space. And on the other half of the basement of the Mae West building, there was racks and racks and racks of movie props. There was a section that was solid Army stuff, and I'm talking canteens and fake machine guns and those bandolero, filled with bullets and all that shit. I mean, Army clothing, and you go down a little further, and there's all this African stuff like Zulu swords and those big, pointy, painted fucking shields. And I mean, you go down a little further, and there's more shit. There's just the place was filled with movie props. And one of the coolest things ever is I just happened to be down in the basement one day with a guy named Leonard Maltin. Leonard Maltin was our resident movie critic, okay? And Leonard knows more about movies than any man walking this freaking planet, okay? And as we would walk down the aisles of this place, Leonard had come down looking for a tape in particular, and I helped him find it. And I said, "Hey, Leonard, have you ever been over in the props department?" And he's like, "What props department?" I said, "Come over here for a minute." Leonard didn't even know that this part of the basement existed. I brought him in there, and as we're walking down the aisles, Leonard is literally picking up something and saying, "Oh my God, do you know what this is? This was in the 1948 film with John Milland," and he could. Leonard was going through just pointing out all of it. He knew everything. I mean, the guy's a walking encyclopedia. And he goes, do you think I could take some of these things back up to my... So I said, "Sure, Leonard." So we grabbed 6 or 8 different movie props that really turned Leonard on, and I snuck him into the elevator, and I brought him up to the set. I delivered them into his office, and after that, Leonard and I, man, we were tight. We were freaking tight. But one day, Paramount finally said, "Fuck it. Okay, we don't need all this shit anymore. We're never going to use all this Army stuff and all this. Roman, I mean, there were Roman chariots down there, and there was, oh my God, there was so much shit down in that basement, it wasn't funny. So they brought in dumpsters. They brought in dumpsters, and they had people just hurling all this shit in the dumpster. And it took them over a week to get rid of all this shit. Okay? There was so much stuff. Indian bows and arrows, and I mean, you name it. You name it. It was down in this freaking holdover base. One day, I'm going to lunch, and I come down the stairs, and I walk past this dumpster, and the dumpster is filled with all this memorabilia, but the dumpster doors they're propped open. And I look down, and I see this assortment of spears, okay? An assortment of spears. And I remember looking at this one gold spear, and I went, oh, that's really unusual. And I stopped and I looked at it for a minute because it had like a can opener on one end and it had like a grappling hook on the other. And I'm like, it just caught my eye. But I was hungry, so I'm on my way down to I'm going on down to the commissary. And as I'm halfway down to the commissary, and it fucking hits me. It hits me just what that spear was, okay? I'm going to show it to you. Yes, here we go. Here we go. Oh, this is beautiful. This is fucking beautiful right here. This is beautiful right here. Okay, so let me finish my story. I'm walking down to the commissary, and it hits me what this spear is. This isn't just any spear. This spear was from the original Star Trek series, and I'm going to show it to you right here. It was from episode number 66, called The Gamesters of Triskelion. And those of you who are Star Trek fans, you're going to know what I'm talking about when you see this. But let me play this clip. Let me play this clip for you.
Captain's log, stardate 3211.8. We find ourselves on a strange and hostile planet surrounded by creatures belonging to races scattered all through the galaxy.
I am Galt, the Master Thrall. You are to be trained and spend the rest of your lives here.
We are 1,000 of your meters beneath the surface.
There it is. There is my spear, okay? There it is right there. There's another one. There was 3 of them. They made 3 of these. One of them got broken. One of them got broken on the show during the filming. And then see this chick with the I'm sorry. See this girl with the healthy mammalian protrusions? Yes, this one right here. Kirk ends up sleeping with her. But there's my spear, okay? There is my spear. And I go back and I pull this freaking spear out of the dumpster and I'm holding it and I'm looking at it just going, oh my God. And I bring it back up to my cubicle at Entertainment Tonight. I forgot all about lunch. Fuck lunch. I've got the spear from the Gamesters of Triskelion. And then the thing is, if you drove your car onto the Paramount lot, every single time you left the lot, when you left the lot, the guards would look inside your car and they would make you open up your trunk and you would have to, a daily thing, every single day of my life. If I went in the lot, I could park, but when I go to leave, they look through your car and they make you open your trunk and they look in your trunk just to make sure you're not stealing anything. And I'm like, I got to get this fucking spear. I got to get this spear off the lot. Well, one of my good buddies happened to run the side gate up on Bronson Avenue. My big buddy Brian Wallace, a great man, a wonderful friend. And I worked late one night. I stayed around till 9 o'clock at night. And I went and got my car and I drove on the lot in the front gate. And then I came around to the side because the Bronson gate was just 50 feet from my building. And I put the spear in my car. And when I drove up to the gate, Brian looks at me and he goes, "You're kidding me." And I said, "No." I said, "Gamesters of Triskelion." He goes, "I know what the fuck it is." He goes, "Get out of here." And he let me out and I took this thing home and I bought 2 hooks and I hung it from a beam in the ceiling of my living room. And it was funny how many people would come over to my house. It was funny how many people would come over to my house and they'd say, "Hey, is that from Star Trek?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is." Here's the stupidest thing ever. This is your brother Zoe at his lowest, okay? There was a time in my life when I was broker than broke. And I mean absolutely broker than broke. I just bought a 67 Mustang and I owned it for 4 hours. 4 hours. And I got in an accident. A woman pulled out in front of me, slammed on her brakes. I slammed into the back of her. There was no stop sign or nothing. She stopped for absolutely no reason. I slammed into the back of her. My car bursts into flames. She took her car and jumped the island. She jumped the island in the middle of the road on Whittier Boulevard and took off. The 2 guys in my car, they both have warrants out for their arrest, so they split, and they leave me with my car on fire. My Mustang burned to the ground, and then I got a ticket. I got a ticket from the city of Whittier for $5,000 to repair the big burn spot in the middle of Whittier Boulevard. This is how low my life was. There was a Star Trek convention. And I brought the spear down and I auctioned it off. I know. What the fuck is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Do you know what that's... First of all, do you know what that spear would be worth today? That's the big thing. What that spear would be worth today, some 50 years later. I got $600 for it. And the thing is, when people looked at it, everybody oohed, and I mean, they, during the whole auction, they have these stupid little trinkets and this stupid. All of a sudden, the last item is my spear, and the fucking entire audience of this Star Trek convention is all going, ooh, and you could hear the rumble. People were talking, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, could that be real?" And if I had only gotten up and grabbed the microphone out of the auctioneer's hand and told the story that I told you guys, that I found this on the Paramount lot and I smuggled it off, I'd have gotten 50 grand for it, okay? What would have happened is I'd have gotten arrested by Paramount. That's probably what would have happened. And that's why I was afraid to do anything, to say anything. But yeah, I'll never live one down. I'll never live that one down. It was a bummer to have it and then not to have it. To be a have and a have not. Crazy. Oh my God, the show. I'm running away with the show. Okay, I got to tell another story. So one night, it is Halloween. It's Halloween, and this is like 87, 88. Yeah, 87. And by now my hair has grown in dramatically. Okay, I'm a fucking long hair again. And my best friend is he owns a condo in West Hollywood. It was a $4 cab ride from our condo to the front door of the Rainbow, which the Rainbow Bar and Grill was where every rock star and every wannabe ever hung out in Hollywood. Okay, so it's Halloween. It's Halloween, and I dressed like Spock for Halloween. When I was at that Star Trek convention, I found a pattern. I found a pattern for a Star Trek shirt. And while I was there was also people selling the little badge, the little gold V-shaped badge that they all had, So naturally, I got Spock's. And I begged my sister. I mean, I bugged her and bugged her and bugged her. And finally, she stitched me up this shirt, and she did a beautiful job. She did a beautiful job. It looked just like the shirts from the television show. And so I went as Spock. I shaved off my eyebrows. Here, and I put fake eyebrows going up like this on an angle. And I wore my big old motorcycle boots, which didn't quite look like the Star Trek boots, but it was the only thing I had. I got a pair of pants from Goodwill for 50 cents, and she cut them and put that little cuff, the Star Trek pants had a cuff like halfway down the calf. It was really dorky, but she made me this great costume. I walk into the Rainbow Bar and Grill, and they are in the middle of, nothing. They're at the end. They're at the end of giving away best costume. So there was 5th place, 4th place, 3rd, all the way down to first place was a magnum of Dom Perignon champagne. Okay? I mean, the thing was this fucking big around. It was as big around as a basketball. The biggest bottle of champagne you ever saw. And we're late. Me and my buddy, we're late. He's dressed like Davy Crockett. I'm Mr. Spock. And we go up the stairs to where they're having this contest. And the guys who are the judges that night, it's Blackie Lawless from Wasp. It's Vince Neil from Vince Neil and Tommy Lee from Motley Crue. It's the red-haired guy from that group Autograph. Turn up the radio. He's one of the judges. And then who's the other guy? Oh, that fucking douchebag. He's not even alive anymore. From Warrant. Janie St. James or whatever his name was. Anyway, those are the judges. Vince Neil takes one look at me and says, "Oh my God," because they were about to give the prize to this chick who, and I'm telling you, this chick was smoking. That's why she was going to win first place. But Vince grabs everybody and he says, first place goes to Mr. Spock. And I went up and I accepted my magnum of champagne. And it was just one of those moments I'll never freaking forget. Jamie Lane. That's it. Jamie Lane. Thank you, Syllabore. I'm glad some of you guys remember your 80s hair bands. Yep. Oh, man. Oh, man. Anyway, those are just some of my Hollywood war stories. Oh, I guess I did say I would tell you about Tina Turner's tits, didn't I? I mean, I hate to bring it down at the very end of the show, take it right down into the gutter, but I am a biker, so I guess I should. So we were doing an interview with Mark Knopfler. Mark Knopfler is the guitarist in Dire Straits, and the guy who was the reporter. We had a rock and roll reporter. We had a number of rock and roll reporters, but at this time, the guy who was our rock and roll reporter was Bobby Columbi, who also happens to be the drummer from Blood, Sweat, and Tears. He's an old friend of mine. In fact, he's been on this show. In fact, I better call him again soon because Bobby's getting up there, and I ought to get him back. He always tells good stories, really good stories. Anyway, Bobby has this thing in mind for the Mark Knopfler piece. So we interview Mark Knopfler, and we shoot the whole thing at Tina Turner's house. And what one of the last questions that we asked Mark Knopfler was, imagine the camera's tight, right? The camera is tight on his face. And we asked the question, so, Mark, now that Money for Nothing and Chicks for Free has made you a worldwide name and, made you gazillions of dollars and you're this millionaire guy, has your life changed at all? And Mark Knopfler, imagine, the camera is tight on his face and it's slowly pulling back. The camera is pulling back. The scene is getting wider and wider and wider. And he says, no, my life's... He's sitting on a couch like this with his arm out. My life's really the same it's always been. And as it pulls all the way back, Tina Turner is sitting on her couch and she's filing Mark Knopfler's nails with a nail file. Okay, it was Bobby's idea of a cute way to end the piece. So anyway, the interview's over and we're hanging out, and Tina was super sweet. I'd met her before. That's where I got my picture of her sitting on my lap, and so she knew who I was. And Tina was wearing, I'll never forget this. She had leather pants on, and she had a men's a buffalo plaid flannel shirt on, and the damn thing was, first of all, it was like a size 3XL, so it came down to her knees. She wore it like a dress, and she had it unbuttoned clear down to her navel, but it stayed closed, so you didn't really. But she gets up and decides she's going to serve us hors d'oeuvre. And she comes around with a tray and she leans over on the couch so I can pick an hors d'oeuvre. And as I'm looking at the tray and I'm picking, and I glance up and her shirt has fallen open, and I'm looking at Tina Turner's Hooters is what I'm doing. And I'm like, I took a couple extra seconds to find which hors d'oeuvre I really wanted. And yeah, it's stuff like that. These are the silly little things that have happened to your brother Zoe along the years. And now, one day I'm going to write them all down, and I'm going to give it to my daughters to read. And hopefully they'll be able to forgive their father when it's all said and done. I guess I should probably back a few of these things up, huh? Shouldn't I? I know you've seen these hundreds of times. There's me and Heather Locklear in the news offices of Entertainment Tonight. She is looking like she wants a little piece of the Zoe right there. This is me and Alice Cooper. Alice said, nobody smiles when they take their picture with Alice Cooper. You have to growl. So that was my best growl. Here's Tina right here. Tina Turner sitting on my lap. And then what else we got? What else? It's the same old stuff. I've shown these hundreds of times. Ozzy Osbourne, me and Ozzy. This is Robert Plant, the lead singer of Led Zeppelin. You all know this one. This one is Prairie Fire's favorite. That is Chrissy Hynde from the Pretenders, from that gold record party I told you about. That's where this picture was taken. This is Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead, and of course Lita Ford. And I saw Lita not that long ago, and she autographed this for me. The sad thing is, here's this. This is my favorite picture of all. Me and Jimmy Page, okay, Robert, and that's Paul Rogers from Bad Company. The thing is, of all these, when my house burned down, I lost all my pictures. It just so happened that this small smattering of pictures I have left they were out in my car at the time. I had grabbed a small handful to show some of the other carpenters I worked with. And that night my house burned down, so all my other pictures burned to a crisp. Those were, I don't know. You know what? Honestly, and I've said this a million times, none of it means anything to me anymore. Because they're just freaking people. But they put their pants on. I just told this story the other night. You know, these people put their pants on one leg at a time. They get diarrhea just the same way you and I do. But those special moments I had where, you know, I got to see them film Star Trek 4 and stuff like that. Stuff like that I'll never forget, because that was, in fact, it's been so long since I watched Star Trek 4. I ought to watch it. I ought to go watch it tonight. I wonder if Mrs. Zoe feels like watching an old Star Trek movie. I could put it on the big TV and we could have some laughs. What is that movie, 30 years old now? Yeah, it's got to be 30 years. So what it was, 85, 95, 2005, 2015, 2000. Holy crap, it's 40 years old. I'm an old man. What the hell has happened, people? What has happened to your brother Zoe? I don't believe this. I don't believe this. Okay, all right. It's time to get out of here. It's time to get out of here. Look, there's Seanan on. He is going to be an upcoming star on the Foxhole Squares. Pretty sure he is. I think he is. If I remember talking with Coffee Talk with Sandra correctly. All right, look at that beautiful sticker. Man, Prairie Fire did a great job on that. A great job on that. Thank you, Prairie Fire. God, that's way better than the one I uploaded. Okay, I got to save that. Okay, thank you, Prairie Fire. I am going to release the scratching. I am going to put some lemons in the treasure chest for you. That's what I do. I put lemons in the treasure chest. Now, here's the thing. I want to remind you guys that tomorrow during the day, I host a classic rock show. I play 4 to 5 hours of classic rock, the best classic rock you've ever heard. I'm your disc jockey. There's no commercials. I try to shut my yap, but I do say my occasional hellos to people. But I dig these songs out of the woodworks. I dust off the cobwebs, and I play the stuff that hasn't been played in forever. So I invite you to come join me tomorrow. It's Zoso Dude 77. Zoso Dude 77. You can find me on DLive, and you can find me at pilled.net. Pilled.net. I'll start about 10 o'clock Pacific time. Okay? 10 o'clock Pacific. Come join me tomorrow. Come hang out. Just put me on in the background of your day while you're folding your laundry or you're whatever, polishing the car, washing the car, raking leaves. Put your speakers in the outdoor window and just crank the shit out of it, because I play some great stuff. And then tomorrow night, of course, is the Foxhole Squares. And that, folks, that is going to be something to see. It's going to be a great, great show tomorrow night. We've got some wonderful people joining us. It's going to be funnier than hell. I want you to join us. I want you to come join us tomorrow. The Foxhole Squares, that starts at 7 p.m. Pacific and 10 p.m. Eastern. That is shown exclusively at the Foxhole at the Coffee Talk with Sandra channel. Coffee Talk with Sandra, Foxhole. Be there. Aloha. All right. TL Spud on top of his game. Bad Zoot. Willie Fix-It. Lynn Winters. Jayla 17. Good to see you guys on the list. Congratulations, my friends. That's wonderful. Yes, Due Diligence. Due Diligence will be one of the stars, people. One of the stars tomorrow night. He's making his return. There goes the scratching. It is released. People are picking up. They're picking up gold bills. They are picking them up. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see people picking up gold bills. Look at that. Look at that. Am I going to get one? I got one. I got one. Fantastic. Hey, that's groovy. All right. I'm out of here, people. Thank you for hanging out with me. We will see you on the flip side. That would be tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow, during the day. You got 2 chances to hang out with Zoe tomorrow. Tomorrow during the day on my rock show on D Live and Pill.net, and then tomorrow evening at Pill.net on the Foxhole Squares, where I am the host of the program. Come join me. Come join me. You know what? Hang on a second. Do I? I don't have it. Do I? No. No, she sends it to my Telegram. I don't have Telegram on my computer. Thank you. Thank you to the wonderful people who helped me fix my computer tonight. I really do appreciate it. I don't know anything about computers, but without you, this show never would have gotten on the road. So, all right. Have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Know that I love you lots. And we will see you around the bend, my friends. Around the bend, my friends. Be good now. Be good. Where are my waves? I need waves. Here we go. Waves. Waves and a foghorn. Waves and a foghorn. Good night, everybody.